to another edition of the Toxic Takes. I'm your host, El Terrible. I got another co-host right here. First time appearing on the show. This is Bobcat, not Goldswaith, but I mean, you know what? Never mind that reference. Anyway, this is part 2, side A, cassette side A of my 90s bangers that still hit. Pretty much 90s movies that are still satisfying till this day in 2021. I explained the whole reasoning behind making these movies on the last one. I don't want to get too far into it, but a quick recap is just, I think 20 years or 20 plus years removed from the 90s, people will sleep on a lot of these movies that came out in the 90s just because they're so outdated, or because they think they're outdated, or, you know, because there's no CGI or there's no crazy special effects or nothing like that. But there's a lot of amazing movies that were made in the 90s in an era that was a lot less apologetic. It wasn't apologetic at all, to be honest with you. I think the 90s and the early 2000s was the pinnacle of how violent and how little of a fuck producers and writers and directors gave as far as their art and integrity. Like, whatever they had to sacrifice as far as vulgarity or gore or whatever to convey the message and to get their movie to convey the message, or to make the movie good or successful, or have the movie have the impact that it had, they would go that route. I mean, there was just too many movies that they weren't pulling their punches, and it shows. And that's why to this day, like, you watch a movie right now and there's a lot of people that I've seen movies, but mostly youngsters they'll watch a movie and be like, whoa, damn, they went a little hard, don't you think? It's because it's a very cushy, very, very, very soft-ass generation, very soft-ass people, especially when it comes to content that they watch, let alone how they are in their everyday lives. That's not even a whole conversation. But everybody's so PC and everybody's got such a stick up their ass about everything. You can't even say retarded right now. And I believe me, I get the implications of that, and I feel the insensitivity to the word. You know, but back in the 90s, all these words were all fair game. And I mean, from mainstream, from movies, on TV, you could say retarded. On TV, you couldn't say the F word for homosexuals, but you could definitely say it a lot on TV. And stand-up comedians could say it on their act, on their set, without reaching any kind of backlash or anything like that. Nowadays, someone will find an old video. I heard people trying to condemn Eddie Murphy for every time that he used the F word on the homosexual slur F word on Delirious and those other ones. Like, man, chill the fuck out. It was a different fucking era. That's the same thing with these movies, only it's not like you guys have to dumb yourselves down to watch these movies from the 90s. If anything, these movies will put you up on game, because I feel like the movies in the 90s hit you more in the mouth, man. They were ready. They were grittier, they were grimier. 90s and early 2000s. Right now, unfortunately, directors and producers, they have to watch what they say. They have to watch what they do. They have to watch who they offend. They have to watch who they keep happy on Twitter and on Instagram, and all this stupid ass bullshit that really ruins movies. I mean, there's a lot of scripts that have to get rewritten due to insensitivity. It's fucking ridiculous. I understand the meaning for it, and I understand there has to be progress in this country. And we were progressing perfectly along. We were progressing perfectly along in this country. And I don't know if you remember, but everyone was saying the TV shows are just getting worse and worse. And the shit that you can show on TV is getting worse and worse. And the movies are getting worse and worse. Yeah, but our society was doing good. Like, we were doing good as a society. And the movies were just getting more violent. And the kids were cussing more. And the kids were watching more violent shit. And South Park comes out in 1998. And we were doing good. We were doing so good. Even it kept going. The Boondocks come out in the early 2000s. And if you guys have never seen the Boondocks, I mean, watch one episode of the Boondocks and tell me they can make that show right now without getting all kinds of letters from. I mean, the show was made by African Americans. The Aaron McGruder's black, and the show is so hilarious and is really well written. But you can't make that right now. I know they're gonna make a remake of it right now, but watch how it goes, man. Like, it doesn't. It's just not cool how fucking handcuffed a lot of these artists and directors and even actors are, when this was just not a problem in the 90s. I feel like it was in I mean, I'm not saying officially, but in a certain way, it felt like it was a competition between these actors to see who could get more grittier, who could give less of a fuck in the dialogue that the director wants them to repeat or something like that. And Kevin Bacon was one of these guys that didn't give a shit, and his reputation never suffered for it. Dude, Kevin Bacon used to have to do the most despicable shit in one of the movies that he's in here, like, but he didn't worry about if someone on Twitter was going to tell him, like, oh, how could you accept such a role knowing that you were going to have to do this and say this, and God, dude, just miss me with all that shit. So anyway, that being said, let's get started. Let's get right into it. I'm sorry for that long-ass intro, but it had to be said. That's just how I feel about that, and that's why these particular movies are the ones that I picked. I watched all these movies within the last month and a half, and I watched even my honorable mentions in the last month and a half, and the ones that I legitimately fell asleep to, or I just lost interest in, or I was like, you know what? I don't even want to finish this damn movie. I'm only going to finish it for the project, were ones that I put in my honorable mentions list. So you know what? I just didn't put them on the list at all, and it's probably gonna shock y'all, and y'all aren't gonna agree with it, but I don't give a damn. This isn't your channel. I'm not here to make y'all happy. I'm just here to put my opinion out there, okay? The least offensive way and in the most polite way I can possibly do it, okay? So anyway, before I start, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Make sure you hit the notification button too, so you can get notified on anything that I do if you're interested in this channel. More importantly, I mean, I do think it's more important to subscribe, but I do like it when y'all go ahead and make sure you hit that like button, all right? It looks a lot like this. A lot like this, all right? So just go ahead and do that, and, all right, tell a friend, whatever. So, movie number 1 on my crime dramas from 1990s. It was a movie from 1995 called The Usual Suspects, directed by Bryan Singer, written by Christopher McQuarrie, starring Kevin Spacey, Gabriel Byrne, Kevin Pollak, Chaz Palminteri, Benicio del Toro, Stephen Baldwin. Now, the movie's about, the movie starts off, there's already a crime that got committed, some boat blew up or something like that, like whatever. They got this guy with like a gimp, like he holds his arm, he's got like a gimp. I don't know if he's fucked up, but okay, I'm not making fun of it. I'm just saying, that's how he walked. And if you've seen this movie all the way through, you know I'm not really making fun of anybody for a very particular reason. Anyway, the movie's about, they got that guy in police questioning, like he has a gimp when he walks, so by all intents and purposes he's a harmless man. Like he can't even run. He can't run. That's why he got caught by the cops. So that's why he's the only one that got caught. And they're questioning him throughout the whole movie, and the whole movie ends up being like a retelling of sorts. Okay, like the beginning of the movie does have the usual suspects, the ones you see in the poster in the police lineup. Okay, and the movie starts like that, and then I think it starts like that. It fast forwards real quick to what the fuck happens on the boat, and then it ends up becoming a retelling of everything that happens. Excuse me, everything that happened in between that day that they all met at the police lineup and the incident on the boat. So this whole thing is centered around a mythological, crazy-ass Superman version of a gangster named Kaiser Soze. Okay, and he's world-renowned. Like, he's every gangster in the world, every capo in the world, every boss, every shot caller, every fucking cop, every Interpol agent, everybody knows about Kaiser Soze in this movie. So this whole mythology and everything like that was created for this movie. This isn't based on real life or nothing like that. And back in the 90s, people forget you could do shit like that. You could make a really good movie and it didn't have to be based on real life or anything like that. It was just based on a book or a really good screenplay, and it was great. And nowadays, you'll lose a lot of people's attention, or you'll lose anybody's interest in watching a movie just because they find out, like, oh, this was all made up? Oh, no. I don't want to see that. They're only interested in watching a movie if some of this shit actually happened in real life, okay? I can't blame them, but I can at the same time. Anyway, it's a whole nother conversation for a whole nother thing. So, it's centered around Kaiser Soze, and, apparently what happened was all these guys in the police lineup got into it with him, and they ended up having to do favors for him or whatever, and it all led up to this incident on the boat that ended up claiming all of, everyone's life except for this guy that was in police questioning. And, you know, the whole time he's just telling the whole fucking story, and it's great against a really smart ass cop, like a really smart cop that doesn't bullshit, and you can't bullshit. You cannot bullshit Chaz Palminteri in this movie. Well, apparently not, because, you know, you find out, like, I forgot to mention there's mild spoilers on this shit, but you find out that this guy that was in police custody getting questioned the whole time in a detective's office was telling the whole story. He's a pathological liar. He was making up everything from the bulletin board, piece by piece, name by name, city by city, off of all the shit that was on the bulletin board, even the motherfucking detective coffee mug. Like, it's some shit you just can't, like, it was amazing. Even doing that, I'm not really giving away the ending. So, like, it's just a great ride, an amazing, what we like to call a mind fuck, because I didn't see it coming. I have a lot of friends that can, like, put pieces together to a lot of movies, like, from the very get-go. They're very observant, and I'm very thankful in myself. I am very observant in life and in a lot of other things, but I don't think I'm very observant in movies. So shit like this, it'll throw me for a loop, or it'll catch me slipping, or I'll be surprised, or I get my jaw dropped. And I'm very thankful for my naivete when it comes to watching movies in that aspect. So that was Usual Suspects, all right? Banger. Moving on, we got Fargo. Came out in 1996, directed by Joel and Ethan Coen. If you know these names, it's because you've watched some really good movies, and these guys made some bangers, baby. Like, they got, ooh, man, just off the top of my head, they got, like, what, The Big Lebowski, Raising Arizona, Fargo, of course, No Country for Old Men, just off the top of my head, dude. And the True Grit. Anyway, whatever. This movie stars Steve Buscemi, William H. Macy, Frances McDormand, and Peter Stormare. This movie is about a man that marries into money. His wife has a rich father, and I guess he runs a dealership, the husband. He has a rich wife with a rich father, and the father doesn't really respect him at all, and the father's really tight with his money. This guy has a really big business proposal that he wants, but he can't ask his father-in-law for money, and his father-in-law doesn't really think a lot of him anyway. So he comes up with a plot to get his wife kidnapped so that her rich-ass daddy can pay the ransom, and he's going to get in on it with the kidnappers so that he can keep half and the kidnappers can keep the other half. And, I mean, you can already tell this sounds like a shitty, horrible, fucking heartless fucking plan. How's your husband? So it's all in a small, snowy-ass town. It's, you know, small town cops. So it's just a very, very good movie. I would consider it more of a dark comedy than a crime drama. But no, actually, no. It is a crime drama, but it is kind of a dark comedy because there's a lot of funny aspects in the movie. And it's a very Joel and Ethan Coen written movie. What happens at the end and everything like that. Like, it's just a plan that goes all to shit. The two kidnappers are, you know, they don't even agree with each other. So, and the two kidnappers are strangers to this man that's asking them to pretend to kidnap his wife and then pretend to keep half of the money, but they're real kidnappers. This stupid ass, like, William H. Macy, if y'all don't know who he is, he's the dad from Senseless or Shameless or whatever the fuck that trash ass show is. Don't get me started on that. I don't care what you guys think about my opinion about that show. It's fucking garbage, all right? Just take it to the bank. It's stupid. Anyway. So he's in it, and this was before he became, you know, who he is, but he was already coming up in my book. I was already really starting to like it. In my opinion, the star of this movie is Frances McDormand. She plays Marge Gunderson. She's got that Minnesota accent, you know. Don't you know? You going fucking... I don't know if I can fucking do that shit, but it's that don't you know shit. Yeah, and it's kind of cute. It's kind of charming on TV and on movies and stuff like that, but I don't think I've ever known anybody in real life that really talks like that. So I don't know if it's as adorable as she makes it sound in the movie. And she's a really good cop. She's a really, really good cop. She puts all this shit together, and she's pregnant the whole time. So she's able to put all this together in a really charming, dope, kind of Joel and Ethan Coen kind of way. And, you know, the movie's just great. Rent it on Amazon. Do what you got to do. Just check it out. You got to check it out definitely before you start watching the show too, which I have not watched too much of, but I do like the show as well. What I have watched. That being said, Fargo is an amazing movie. Moving on, we got Sleepers. It came out in 1996, directed by Barry Levinson. It's based on a book by a gentleman by the name of Lorenzo Carcaterra. Lorenzo Carcaterra wrote the book and ran into a little bit of controversy when the movie came out because the movie blew up. The movie was actually a hit. And so a lot of people did some investigating because he said that the book and the movie subsequently was based on his childhood, his actual childhood, and something that happened to him and some of his friends and stuff. So, I mean, this was back in 96 before Twitter and Facebook and all that shit. So there's all kinds of people just trying to look to discredit you or to find out any truth in your stuff. Like, there's both sides. There's people that are so interested in the story that they want to know more. Like, I want to know more about this, or I want to know if there's any more facts, or I want to know what the real guards that did this to these kids look like, or I want to know what the real kids look like. And then on the other side, there's all these people that are trying to discredit you and show that you're lying, or that you really just made this story up off the top of your head. Because Sleepers is that movie doesn't seem like it happened in real life, man. The story, everything, all the circumstances and all the details and all the things that had to happen, it seems very far-fetched. But it's a very sad, very brutal movie and a telling of... First of all, I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. So, you need to know for a fact that this movie had one of the best ensemble casts of the 90s. And at the time, the people weren't as big as they were. But, I mean, they just worked really well together. Now, not the best, okay, but one of the best. So it stars Robert De Niro, Brad Pitt, Kevin Bacon. Yes, there was a movie with Robert De Niro, with Bobby De Niro, Brad Pitt, and Kevin Bacon in the same movie. These are three ultimate crazy juggernauts in my head, in my childhood, in everything that has to do with everything. Like all three of them. So all three of them were in this movie, including Jason Patric, Billy Crudup, Dustin Hoffman, and Minnie Driver. The movie's about four boys. They're friends, they're childhood friends. They're four teenage boys growing up in Hell's Kitchen. Not that it matters. They're four white boys, four Italian kids. And I think they're Italian. And they do a prank on the street with a hot dog vendor, I think it was, or like a falafel guy or something like that. And it goes really wrong. And it goes horribly wrong. To the point where they get sent to a group home for kids. Like, which you would go to if you're not old enough to go to prison. Now here in California, we call them CYAs. So they get sent to one of those. And when they get sent there, they all get sent together. They get sent there. They meet this guard named, I believe it was Sean Noakes, played by Kevin Bacon. And this piece of shit, this guy was despicable. Like I said, movies in the 90s were very unapologetic and they could go there. And this movie fucking went there. And Kevin Bacon brought it, man. And Kevin Bacon went there, dude. Kevin Bacon went there. Like, Kevin Bacon's one of those guys that can be the ultimate villain, and he can make you hate him and just detest him and fucking just like, whoa, fuck this fool. And by the end of the movie, you're like, damn, this fool's good. And he could be the main good guy of the movie too, and you're like, God, this guy is so damn good. Keep in mind, Kevin Bacon did Footloose, and then he's a dude, and then he's Sean Noakes. Like, watch Footloose and then watch Sleepers, and you're gonna be like, God, ooh, gee. So, the whole story, I mean, that happens to the kids, but the whole story isn't about that. The beginning of the movie, two of the four kids that stayed in that group home, years have passed by, they're all grown up, they're connected men, they're made men. I believe they're killers for the mob in New York, so they're connected. And all of a sudden, they see Kevin Bacon. This is in the beginning of the movie. They see Kevin Bacon having a meatloaf and mashed potatoes, okay? The same thing that this piece of shit threw on the ground, or no, made these kids eat up off the ground. Like, he made them eat meatloaf and mashed potatoes off the ground. I mean, if you watch the movie, you'll see, or you'll know what I'm talking about. I thought it was, I mean, I don't know if I was the only one that noticed that, but I thought it was kind of ironic that when they caught him in the bar, he was eating meatloaf and mashed potatoes. It looked like meatloaf anyway. So they see him, and like I said, they're gangsters. These guys have killed a lot of people already. So, I mean, they're not shook. They're traumatized, but they're not shook. And they confront his ass right there. And they let him know what's up. and they pop a cap in his ass. Each one of them pops at least like 3 caps in his motherfucking ass in front of witnesses and everything. So they off him right there. This is the beginning of the movie. So the whole movie ends up being a trial about these guys. So Brad Pitt is one of the kids that was in the home with them also. And so is Jason Patric. I'm not sure what Jason Patric does for a living, but Brad Pitt grew up to be a prosecution lawyer, while the other 2 boys grew up to be gangsters. So 2 gangsters. Jason Patric, I believe, was a journalist or some kind of shit. And Brad Pitt, a prosecution lawyer. So they kind of lose touch. These 2 stay together because they're connected, and then everyone else loses touch. They lose touch, and they lose touch from each other. But the names come up in the newspaper, and immediately Brad Pitt hears about it, and he demands to take the case, which throws everyone for a loop because he's a good prosecution lawyer. He's a young and up-and-comer, but he's a good one. He hasn't lost yet. So a lot of his friends are confused, and the childhood friends or whatever are kind of confused or whatever. But, I mean, you come to find out really soon, so it's not like a big secret, that Brad Pitt only took the case to lose. To make sure that he loses, to make sure that they both get off, and to make sure this piece of shit doesn't get any kind of justice for his murder that was completely justified. Like, the murder was justified. And I mean, I gotta tell y'all, like, I love the fact that you can't do these kind of things anymore. And it's mainly because the actors are really shook, and it's not their fault. They get a lot of backlash. They get a lot of hate mail. They get hate mail, like it's the 90s. Hate emails or hate Twitter or comments on their shit about roles that they picked. They didn't write this shit. This wasn't their idea. They took it and ran with it, and they wanted to get, a little crazy with it. Well, you'll get judged for your performance as a thespian by idiots that couldn't do what you can fucking do, that couldn't get their heads around it. They have a brother-in-law, or they have a sister, they have a son that got molested, or someone that got sent to a group home that this movie's highly insensitive and it gave me flashbacks and oh my god, ooh wee. You know what? There was people like that back then when this movie came out. There's always been people like that have been traumatized by a realistic experience in their life that a movie is kind of bringing up those bad memories to. But you know what? They just left the movie theater with that. They didn't leave it. I mean, they left it all in the movie theater. They left it all on the TV screen right there. They didn't go home and start using their thumbs or getting on their keyboard and like letting everyone know about it, or letting everyone know how badly the movie made them feel and how they felt singled out by it. How the fuck do you feel singled out by a movie made in Hollywood? I just don't get what makes people so angry at movies when I'm Mexican and I've grown up with nonstop jokes about beaners, and even right now it's okay because everyone thinks Mexicans just laugh about it, and we do. We fucking do. It's okay. Yeah, we're a little bit spicier. Yeah, oh my god. My whole life, all these 80s movies and 90s movies about fucking beaners and this and that and the other. And like movies like Nacho Libre endear it, and they don't really make fun of the culture, but they do, but it's endearing. And like, I honestly think if you were to make a movie like Nacho Libre right now, motherfuckers would get all their panties in a bunch. Mexicans would get their panties in a bunch about incense. It's just stupid. It's just stupid, the amount of hypocrisy and the amount of just, I don't know, dude, butthurtedness, the sensitivity that there is towards an art form like movies, man. Let it fucking go. I love rated R movies, man. Are they going to have to start making these movies NC-17 for you fucking haters? I don't know what the fuck they're going to have to do, but they don't make movies like the 90s anymore. Because there's a lot more red tape around this shit right now. I don't know what the fuck is going on. Anyway, that's that movie. I can't give away too much more, but there is so much that's very important about that movie. Everything that happens, there's race connotations, there's, child molestation, there's, choices that you make in life after you go through a traumatic experience, what path in life you decide to take and how it affects you. There's religious connotations in this movie because Robert De Niro plays a priest that they confide in. He smokes and he drinks, but he's a very devout priest. And they need him in order to do something that would go against all his principles in order to save the 2 boys that he loves. Not anything too horrible, but depending on who you ask, like it could be. So that's that anyway. Moving on. I'm sorry, I've been taking way too long on these motherfuckers, but I had to let y'all know like how I felt. Like it just blew off a little bit of steam. Anyway, American History X, 1998. Directed by Tony Kaye, written by David McKenna. Starring Edward Norton, Edward Furlong, Beverly D'Angelo, Fairuza Balk, Guy Torry, and there's a little bit of Elliot Gould in there. A lot of people make the stupid-ass mistake of telling people that this movie's about skinheads. And it's about white supremacists and shit like that. If you say that and you're talking to a white supremacist or to an ideological person or something like that, they're most likely gonna watch the movie and they're gonna be like, no, it's not. The movie's prevalent. It's centered around white supremacy and around neo-Nazis and shit. But the title of the movie is more of a good description of the movie. American History X. It's not a whole retelling of everything leading up to this point. This is a movie that happens. It's supposed to be during 1998, 1996, during that time. But it's about a super alpha male. I call him a super alpha male because he is. He's very headstrong. He's a leader. He's a neo-Nazi, and he's very... Edward Norton's character, Derek Vineyard, is very headstrong, very, 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 very smart, and he knows exactly what he wants as far as, moving forward with this movement of neo-Nazism. Like, what he wants is to big up his people. He wants to make his people better. So he doesn't like them smoking and, doing drugs and all this shit, because that's what, that's what the brown people do. That's what the black people do. That's what the Chinese people do. We don't do that. Like, he's very strong-minded, and he quickly becomes at a young age like the leader of a faction in Venice Beach of skinheads. And the beginning of the movie, he plays basketball against some brothers in Venice Beach, and I mean, it's not too far-fetched, but I mean, whatever. He balls them up. Him and his team ball them up. And he makes them a wager on the game that's saying, like, they'll never come back. It tells them, if I win, you guys never bring your black asses back here. And we win, we never come back. Whatever the fuck. The game ends. The white boy dunks on them. Edward Norton. Not any white boy. Just Edward Norton runs up and he dunks on that fucking rim on them, like, to win the game. It was a cool scene, though. I will say that shit was cool. But it's a little far-fetched. Anyway, that's what happened. So later on that night, I think it was that night, he's putting it on his girlfriend and stuff, and his brother like notices that someone's breaking into the truck outside the window. So his little brother goes and wakes him up. It wakes up the big brother, big skinhead, super skinhead. And I always think about my oldest sister again. That's not wrong, but she'll get it. Anyway, there's a part where, he has to come in and he has to stop them from doing what they're doing, and there's a little bit of hilarity in there, in my opinion. There's a part that really makes me laugh in that thing, and I think it makes my sisters laugh too. But anyway, like, it's a really serious moment, and they stop, and he goes and he catches them, and automatically he grabs his gun and he goes out there, he chases them, and he pops two of them. I think he shoots two of them. And he wounds one of them pretty badly, but to the point where he's still dragging. He unloads the whole clip on the car that was getting away. The car gets away. The two wounded guys, one of the guys is dead right there in the lawn. The other guy is crawling, begging for dear life on the concrete on the street. And Edward Norton puts his face on the curb, makes him bite down on it, gives him a skinhead smile, and stomps on the back of his head. They show all that. So that's what Edward Norton goes to jail for. I don't think he does a huge bid because it was in self-defense, but he was excessive. It was excessive force, and he ends up going to prison. I don't remember which prison he went to, but he went to California prison. If you know anything about California prisons, is that they're segregated, and you're gonna have to roll with your race no matter what. And if you're not racist, you're gonna have to learn how to get racist for your whole bid a little bit if you want to survive. And Edward Norton went in there like with the best kind of paperwork you can. Like, he just killed and shot at these black people that were trying to break into his house. Even gave one of them a skinhead smile on the curb. So all this shit usually comes up on your paperwork if you don't know what the fuck it is. As soon as you walk into prison, the first thing they want to know, your people are going to be waiting for you. The first thing they want to see is your fucking paperwork to make sure you're not a snitch or you're not coming in there poisoned from another fucking from another prison where you were snitching or you were a PC or you're a child molester or anything. That's why they want to see your paperwork. So he gets right in. He gets right into it with the Peckerwoods, and right away, like, you know, he starts seeing that there's a lot of things that he's totally against. He starts seeing that they're doing business in prison. They're doing business with black people and with Mexicans, and they're selling to Mexicans and to black people, and they're all this shit that he's totally against because he's fully committed to the cause. He's for real. He's like a for real Aryan Brotherhood fucking white supremacist. He's for real, like to the T. He followed it to the T. He comes to prison, he finds out they don't follow it to the T. Not only that, they bend, break, and go crazy with them motherfucking rules. And he hated that. He hated it to the point where he spoke up about it. He told the shot callers, and he told them, he's like, what the fuck is this? This is bullshit. And they fucked him up. They fucked him up bad, where he had to go to the infirmary bleeding from his booty and his fucking face. Like I said, 90's movies, they didn't give a fuck. So after that, I'm not sure if he gets bounced off the car or if he just decides not to fuck with them anymore. Because I don't know if you really have a choice in prison or not, but he doesn't really fuck with them at all anymore. And in the meantime, he builds this relationship with a brother in the laundry room. He builds a relationship. They've been talking the whole time. The brother tells him his testimony and what happened to him and how he was wrongfully imprisoned because he accidentally dropped the TV on a cop's foot, and he has a much heavier sentence than Edward Norton, who's in there for killing two dudes. And I mean, like I said, Edward Norton's really strong-minded, really smart, really smart, alpha male. So if you're that smart, you can't help but notice your environment and notice what's going on around you. You're not brainwashed. You're not susceptible to someone, you know, feeding you that Kool-Aid for your whole life. You know what I'm saying? Like your eyes get opened. If you see something that opens your eyes, you're smart enough to put it all together. And he did. He did. He finished out the rest of his sentence. He let all his hair grow out. He decided that as soon as he got out, he has a sister and a little brother and a mother and even a little brother too. I think there was still a little baby in there that he had to go back and try to straighten up and put him on the right path. The sister was completely against the, you know, the white supremacy and all that stupid shit, but the little brother was, dude, like his older brother, the one that was in prison, Derek, is a hero. Is a hero to all the skinheads in that area for what he did. Can you imagine? Like, you know, your brother's a celebrity. So his little brother's just as smart as he is. And, you know, just a lot easier influence. So the whole time he was in prison, he was being molded by all the other neo-Nazis right there. All the older neo-Nazis, all of Edward Norton's big homies were trying to mold the little brother, Danny, into, you know, the next Derek. You know, they were hoping he's going to be the next Derek, and they're doing a really good job of it because he's really smart and he knows his shit and he's tough and whatever. Well, Derek gets out and tries to change all that. And I mean, he's met with a lot of resistance, man. I just got to say that's what mainly the story is about. And message is so well received and so well put out there for the ending of the movie that it's great. It's like, it's always great to try to make a change, especially that big of a change. It really is. It's really a good thing, but sometimes it's just too late. And there's nothing you can fucking do about it. Anyway, moving on. This is the last one for this part A. Make sure you flip the cassette to side B after I'm done with this one, all right? Last movie on this list came out in 1996. This movie's called A Time to Kill. It was directed by Joel Schumacher and written by John Grisham. Now, Joel Schumacher directed a lot of really good movies in the 90s. Okay, I have another movie on this list that was directed by him too. He directed some shitty movies in the 90s too. Batman and Robin. But John Grisham wrote a lot of great books. John Grisham wrote The Rainmaker and I believe The Client and this one. I could be wrong about The Client. But anyway, some great movies based on books. This movie stars Matthew McConaughey, Sandra Bullock, Samuel L. Jackson, Kevin Spacey, Kiefer Sutherland, Donald Sutherland, Ashley Judd, and Chris Cooper. Yes, Kiefer and Donald were in the same movie together. This was the very first movie I ever watched with Matthew McConaughey and my third movie with Samuel L. Jackson. The first one was Coming to America, the second one was Pulp Fiction, and this was the third one. This came out 2 years after Pulp Fiction, so Samuel L. Jackson was a star already. So This movie starts off, it's in Mississippi, sweaty ass Mississippi, racist ass fucking Mississippi, but I believe it's still the 90s. It's 96, so it's contemporary for that time. And this little black girl is walking down the street. She can't be 11 or 12. She can't even be 12. She's walking down the street with a grocery bag full of groceries, like completely full of groceries. So she's not struggling with it, but she's using all her strength to carry it and make sure nothing falls or nothing. And these drunken ass, hillbilly ass, full grown men are driving by in a truck and they see her, and I don't know what comes over them, but they throw a fucking beer can at her head, knock her out, a full beer can at her head, knock her out. They take turns raping the shit out of her and beating her, like hoping to kill her, and they don't kill her. She ends up surviving miraculously, thank God. And these idiots get caught right away. The whole movie isn't about a mystery about trying to find out who they were. They get caught right away. They get found right away. It's a small town, so it was easy to find out who did it. And that's not what the movie's about. So the father of this little girl has to, the cops and the ambulance bring her back to her house, or I don't know what the deal is because she's really fucked up. I don't know why they brought her back to the house before they brought her to the hospital, but they do. And the first thing she does is apologizes for spilling the groceries and stuff. And oh my God, it's so heartbreaking, dude. So it's that, and they didn't kill her, unfortunately. So the father knows what's going on in the South. He knows what's happening right there. He knows these guys aren't going to get more than maybe 1 or 2 years, if that, for raping his daughter. And not only did they rape her, they I hate saying this, they raped her so brutally that they completely ravaged her uterus, like badly. She could never have kids again. They messed her up really badly. Poor little girl. So the dad knows that nothing's gonna really happen to these boys, so he goes in, he hides in the courthouse the night before of their trial. And when they're about to be walking up to the courtroom with all the media and all the press and all the lawyers and everybody right there, he comes out with an automatic rifle and he kills both of them. And he accidentally shoots like some cops in the process. So this movie becomes a trial about him, about justification for him. And Matthew McConaughey becomes his lawyer. I mean, there's a lot of things they have to do for Matthew McConaughey to become his lawyer, but Matthew McConaughey becomes his lawyer. Sandra Bullock's from another town. I believe she's either from California or New York or some more liberal place like that. She's a rich girl, or her dad's rich, so she doesn't really have to work, but she's like a warrior for justice, sort of, like just this person that heard about the case and she wants to help the prosecution no matter what, because she thinks it's wrong and she thinks that Samuel L. Jackson's character is innocent and he should be let go. I think everybody thinks he's innocent. He should be let go. Any father would probably do what he did. Now, the whole movie is a whole question of morality because it's in the South. The Ku Klux Klan gets involved. Racist neighbors get involved. Racist lawyers, racist judges, racist jurors. So it's all a great movie to let you see how things were even in the 90s. I bet you shit's like that even right now up in that motherfucker. But that's why a motherfucker doesn't go and visit over there. Anyway, that's all I want to say about that movie. Except for the fact that, okay, Matthew McConaughey drops the sickest speech at the end for his closing argument for the jury that it's just, I mean, oh my God. So yeah, that is part A of part 2 of my 90s movies that still entertain, crime dramas. This is all the crime dramas division. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, or don't, man. Just hit that like button. Again, it looks like this. And, if you don't want to, fuck with my videos no more, that's totally fine. If you think that somebody that wants to, or your girl wants to fuck with my videos, go ahead and put her up on it. You don't have to watch them. That's fine. I don't mind. Either way, just let me know what you guys think about the content. Let me know if you have any suggestions or pointers for me. Maybe I was a little rude back there in the end, but it's just what's been happening, man. So all I'm going to say is we got part 2 coming out. I got to go to Palm Springs this weekend to watch the Canelo fight. And I'm gonna make the second part after that. But I already have all my notes written, everything like that. Expect content within the next week or so, if anybody's really paying attention to any of this. So that's gonna be it for the toxic takes. You guys have a great week, whatever, whenever you guys watch this. Peace.